Hello, all. Welcome back to yet another interesting session of World Blockchain Symposium organized by APEC News Network, is supported by Ministry of Electronics and IT, Government of India, and state partners, Government of Orissa and Government of Telangana, and supporting partner Honeybee. In the inaugural, we had a perspective from governance leaders of the country on how blockchain technology can be leveraged for transformation in the governance sector. We also had a perspective from Brazilian Development Bank. Then it was followed by a session on the importance of blockchain for pharma sector. And now we have come to a very important session of this conclave, that is manufacturing innovation through blockchain, challenges and opportunities. We know that if you talk about blockchain, the 3-4 core areas where blockchain is being used are manufacturing, pharma, agriculture, and fintech sector, along with governance. And that's why the agenda has been built of this conclave, keeping in mind the importance of blockchain for these 4 sectors. And for this session, we have eminent speakers with us from the manufacturing sector. Let me introduce to all of you the moderator of this session, Mr. Paresh Bhagwatkar, Digital Supply Chain and Manufacturing Procurement Transformation Lead. He's joining us from US. We welcome Mr. Paresh. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are joined by Sanjay Kshirsagar, Head Supply Chain and Manufacturing, Freudenberg Gala Household Products Private Limited. We welcome Mr. Sanjay. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are joined by Khushru M. Mistry, Chief Information Officer and Senior Vice President, Eureka Forbes Limited. We welcome Mr. Mistry. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
We're also joined by Mr. Umakanth, Nair, Director, Center of Excellence, GSC-CoE, Pune, Eaton. Thank you so much, Mr. Umakanth, for joining us today.
Thank you.
And we're also joined by Dr. Rakesh Sinha, Founder and CEO, Reĥexive Supply Chain Solutions. Thank you so much, Dr. Rakesh, for joining us today.
Thank you.
With this, without taking much time, I hand over the session to Mr. Paresh Bhagwatkar, who will be playing the role of moderator for this very important session of APEC World Blockchain Symposium, a session on manufacturing innovation through blockchain, challenges and opportunities. Over to you, Mr. Paresh.
Thank you, Shovik. Thank you. And thank you and welcome Khushru, Dr. Rakesh, Sanjay, and Umakanth. It is great to have you here. And also welcome to the audience. So I'll have to say that this topic is so interesting and this panel is so distinguished that I had to wake up at 2 o'clock today in the morning to join this session. I'm in the US, like Shovik mentioned, but it's great to have this panel over here. And so going into the topic, in the manufacturing industry and in the industrial sector, we want to find out how blockchain is being used, where it can be used, what are the opportunities, what are the pain points. So we know that it can be used in supply chain monitoring, so for material provenance, engineering design, identity management, asset tracking, quality assurance, and regulatory compliance. So what I want to do is I have some questions for the panel, and I would like to hear their views on it. And we are missing one panel member, but we have the others, and it is going to be a great discussion. So going into the topic, Umakanth, I have my first question is for you. So what are the some of the pain points in the manufacturing industry that you think might be remediated by blockchain? You've been around the manufacturing industry for a while, and also in different kinds of companies. So it would be great to hear your view on this.
Sure. Thank you. Thanks, Paresh. Good afternoon to all of you. Great to connect, and thanks for this opportunity, APEC network team, for sure. And I'll talk more from a manufacturing and supply chain perspective. What are the opportunities on the digitalization side of it? And then we can always connect that back through the experts here in blockchain. What are the possibilities to utilize the right techniques and tools? So a little bit from my side, always the challenge for our industry or our kind of industry or any industry that our digitalization priority was generally on the back foot because of multiple challenges in the past. So now why do I say that? It is only because all the industry focus were more on the manufacturing process, and this is my personal experience as well. Always we used to have the focus on the lean manufacturing side of it, how to make best process to get the right product out of the factory with the highest level of quality. So that was more of the process, but at the same time low cost automation, which is more centric to a factory. That used to be the regular focus what we used to have. Now, in manufacturing, as all of you know, that once the part arrive inside the facility, the manufacturing team is responsible for managing the parts well within the four walls. And then supply chain used to be always bringing the part, get to the dock. That is their job. So the handshake was always in terms of, say, getting the part inside the dock entries and quality, all those pieces. That was the only handshake, and that it used to be more of, if I could say, a non-direct collaborative opportunity in the past. Whereas now it is shifting. The opportunities, what we can see here is that how do we see this more holistically from a visibility standpoint and connectivity standpoint, which we always talk from a digitalization side of it. I'll give you examples that the shift is more towards the digitalization side. I'll talk about the manufacturing process itself, and also the connectivity from a quality side of it. So we always focuses on the shop ordering, which we always talk about, either SNOP, multiple processes what we have, which is connected more from a marketing insight side of it, or forecasting, what we always talk about. Now that's where we start in terms of processing, and then we will have all the processes defined for all the new product in terms of what kind of quality checks we need to have so that we will get the right level of product output. And in the entire journey, the supply chain is more out of the four walls, focusing on bringing in the part, as I mentioned earlier. Now, the opportunity here is that can we look holistically from how the readiness is from a system perspective for manufacturing and quality, connecting to the demand changes, working collaboratively with engineering, and then those networks can be threaded so that we will be able to make the right decision faster so that we can stay competitive in the market. So that will be my first thought from an operation side of it. But at the same time, the second insights which comes in is that we do all kind of audits well within the quality area. Now, that could be internal quality audit, but also we have a high dependency on our supplier side of it. So what kind of systems we can bring in, and with the current pandemic challenges, all what we can see that remote auditing processes, is it really possible? I'm not saying directly possible through blockchain, but at the same time, these are some of those real examples what we need to bring in manufacturing industry, by which our supply partnership would be increasing. So we don't need to have only the physical audit. So it's more of joining hands and then making sure that what is happening in one entity is also shared or known to the other entity, and that could be well within a business, a company. But at the same time, there is a possibility of horizontal deployment of best practices as well. So in a nutshell, when I look at it, the collaboration between, if you look at inside the company, the manufacturing collaboration, the engineering collaboration, starting from the new product development program side of it, and then quality getting into it, and then finally it's going out of operation. But at the same time, if you look outside, it is more of collaboration with the suppliers and sometimes customers and third parties to help us to come out of this inefficient processes, what is actually causing a lot of challenges
Sure.
on the
Yeah.
whole.
Yeah. Thank you, Umakanth. So, any thoughts to add to that, Khushru, Sanjay, or Dr. Rakesh?
I think the challenges are quite a few right now in the manufacturing industry, that's for sure. The pain points are usually to do with the opacity, the centralization, and the archaic asset management and control. And to a large extent also, in certain cases, how do you make sure that the fraud part of it in manufacturing is curtailed. So I think there are quite a few pain points already there in the manufacturing sector today. That's my opinion.
Okay, good. So, if there are no more thoughts, my next question is for Sanjay. So, Sanjay, I was going through your profile and noticed that you've done some significant work on quality improvements and improving HSE scores. Umakanth also touched upon the quality aspect of it. So, I'm just curious to hear from you about how blockchain could be used in quality assurance. So, if you have some thoughts around it.
Yeah. So thanks, Paresh. So first of all, good afternoon all again to all audience. And I want to give thank you to APAC News Network to create this big event on a blockchain. So just one sentence on the blockchain. I'm reading on the internet. Blockchain is as significant as important now as the internet was 25 years ago. So suppose we are looking at the internet 25 years ago and now. So maybe blockchain will be disrupt the industry in the next 25 years. Not require 25 years, maybe in 10 years. So thanks to APAC network team to arrange that session on this particular beautiful topic. Now coming to blockchain in a quality. So just I want to start with the one real live example. Before joining Freudenberg, I was working in a Henkel in South Africa, and I was based in Johannesburg. So this was the case in 2017. So one of the big customer, I will not disclose their name due to confidentiality, but they are a big group. They are in the all FMCG around 3 billion USD group, and we are providing our goods. So what happened in 2017? Maybe some people knows there is a one strain. The strain name is called HN58 that to observe in a chicken, and that company was involved in a big share in a chicken market. So what happened in 2000 something made they found that strength in that particular their product, and after that really miss because they're not able to find the batch, they're not able to find the product, they're not able to do the testing. Suppose they are finding the strain in that particular batch, they're not able to track, they're not able to take back that product, and eventually what happened due to public protest and healthcare, they need to close their Pretoria plant, and that was the big loss for the company. So just I want to relate this incidents to blockchain. Suppose they have the blockchain, at least they will able to do find the badge, then take the action. So just as per my understanding, suppose we'll able to implement the blockchain in a proper way, then there is a two things: speed and confidence that can able to create in the company. So now coming to quality assurance. So just I reiterate about the quality assurance. What's quality assurance will do? They give the confirmation the product is good as per the customer requirement and as per the specification. So that's the quality assurance job. And suppose we will as Paresh asked me, can we able to use the blockchain in quality assurance? 100% we'll able to use that, because suppose we will use the blockchain in a quality assurance, maybe in the future we'll able to avoid this type of mess up from the companies. So that's about the quality blockchain in quality assurance. So there is some thought process from my side how we want to implement blockchain in a quality assurance. So first we need to understand present setup, what's document we are doing in terms of record keeping, I can say. Second is how your value chain is complex, and third one is in terms of how the product is severe. Just take example, I had given that company in the chicken business, it was a very severe. So on that base we can able to implement blockchain in quality assurance. Yeah, Paresh.
Okay, great. Yeah, thanks, Sanjay. So, any thoughts, Dr. Rakesh, Umakanth, or Khushru, on blockchain in quality assurance?
If I may, Paresh, okay.
Yeah,
Quality
sure.
assurance in manufacturing is definitely an area where within India, this can be a major player. Because ultimately, if you qualify the quality of the product at the factory level, the end customer experience becomes much better going forward also, because that is where the NPS, because that's where the sort of the rubber hits the road. And I think it's going to play a very, very major part in this country. And perhaps I can elicit a little bit more during my session. Okay.
Sure. Thank you. Okay. So that brings me to Dr. Rakesh. So you've had a stellar career at Godrej in supply chain, and now you're helping clients from a consulting angle. Could you please talk about how we could use blockchain for supply chain monitoring and improving transparency in supply chain?
Yeah. So thanks, Paresh. So blockchain is definitely the way forward. However, we need to sort out a few things which are coming in its way of adoption. And I'll talk about two things in my talk. See, blockchain has many benefits, but two of the main benefits which are useful for manufacturing and supply chain for manufacturing industries is one is it improves the agility through faster processing of some of the transactions which normally take much longer to process. And the initial applications of blockchain we have seen in these areas. Just by the sheer fact that due to the transparency and simultaneous updation of the ledgers, it's the process actually becomes much faster. So it has been used, for example, where some big agencies are involved, like ports and customs, etc., where normally the documentation processing takes much longer, but through blockchain it can be done faster. So that's one application. In the manufacturing in Indian industry specifically, there are some applications where the it's between the manufacturer, the vendor, and the bank. So when the vendor supplies an item, he would like to get a credit or a early payment from the bank. And normally this process takes much longer because he has to get the GRN, give it to the bank, and then get the credit. If all three are connected through blockchain, the moment he delivers, or even in some cases on the basis of ASN, he can get a credit from the bank. So again, it speeds up processing. So wherever we are talking of agility and faster processing, we have seen applications. The second major benefit is traceability, where blockchain can help in tracing the product from farm to fork, as we call it. But there are certain issues. While it's useful for discrete manufacturing industry, when it comes to continuous processing industry and especially handling liquids, for example, traceability becomes an issue. And I'll explain it with a small example that all of us can relate to, including the audience. Take, for example, the milk processing by Amul. All of us know that Amul gets milk from several farmers and then processes it. Now, can we identify the milk packet that we use in our house to a particular farm from where it has come? Now, this becomes difficult because the lot size of input item is much smaller than the batch size required for processing. So if a farmer gives 50 liters or 100 liters or 200 liters, Amul has to mix the milk of several farmers because pasteurization requires a much bigger batch size, say 1,000 liters or even higher batch size. There's no way once it is pasteurized that we can trace it back to an individual farmer. It all gets mixed up. And a similar issue we have seen, for example, in palm oil traceability. And a lot of companies, food companies and soap companies are still struggling with that because the processors get fresh fruit bunches from several small farms. They collect it and process it together. So we lose the traceability to the farm. And it's a continuous refining process and a continuous fractionation process. So the best we can get is a mass balance, that out of the 1,000 tons of palm oil that we have got, 800 has come from sustainable farms and 200 tons as it's 80-20 ratio. So it's a mass balance, not exactly traceability. So unless we solve this issue, traceability in food products, the adoption will continue to be low. And wherever we are trying to implement it, this is one of the hurdles that we come across, especially if the input material is sourced from a lot of small players and the batch size for processing is much larger. We still don't know how to solve it. So I would just throw it open to everyone who is involved in the blockchain to think through it and see if we can find a solution, and that will really speed up the adoption process. Otherwise, it's only by a few very big companies who have very large vendors from whom they source. Yeah. So these were the two things I should. And in terms of cost, it's an energy-intensive process that the cost also becomes high. So that's another obstacle to adoption of blockchain. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Rakesh. And thank you to throw a curveball to the blockchain community with this particular challenge. Is there anything else anyone wants to add to that? I know everyone else is in a discrete area.
So, very quickly, when Dr. Rakesh shared that insight, that brings more connectivity for some of the major challenges what we from supply chain also goes through, because we have multiple touch points, we have multiple suppliers, but at the same time the journey is from the part to the final delivery side of it. How much of clarity and visibility we can bring in, and like you register an order and then you deliver a order. So what kind of visibility what we can give with more transparency, but at the same time the security side of it, that is something what we all need to evolve. So that is something what we are also looking at.
All right. Okay, good. Yeah, thank you, Umakanth. So now that brings me to Khushru. So now we've heard the challenges that the operational people here have brought up, and the opportunities. Now you are the CIO, you are the leader that that can deliver the digital magic with blockchain. So if you could please talk about how your company or the industry is using blockchain to solve these problems, and also what are the challenges that you're encountering in implementing blockchain, and what could be done differently.
Thanks, Paresh. The fact of the matter is, right now at Eureka Forbes level, we are still in the extremely nascent stage of looking at blockchain. But as part of the discovery which we're going through right now, we have actually done some case studies on how blockchain is getting utilized and what are the benefits it can derive for us. Mm-hmm. One of the companies which we actually saw was an aircraft company, an aircraft industry. It's a spare parts company. And you can ask me the question, why are we looking at aircraft because it's still doing manufacturing of parts. What we found is that there were two types of technologies they were utilizing, and I'll talk more about the industry first before I go on to Eureka Forbes. They are utilizing additive manufacturing, 3D printing. So effectively, in order to get the 3D printing, and they were worried about their IP, the intellectual property, and the way they had done it is utilizing blockchain. So they put in the 3D sort of the designs and everything on a blockchain as a service platform. Now, because they put that design out there, it was immediately encrypted, because blockchain technology is utilized and it's known for its security bundle, just like cryptocurrency, bitcoins and everything. So it instantaneously protected the design, okay, and utilizing smart contracts which they had put inside. They were able, and with the negotiated price and confirmation of the conditions, the moment the condition is met on the smart contracts, it immediately executes the 3D design to the participant. Now, what we found out, and what was quite good for us to understand, is they were utilizing blockchain with 3D printing to enable point of use and time of use for supply chain. And that's very important for us, and I come down to how we want to intend to utilize in Eureka Forbes. The second portion so I'll come back to now Eureka Forbes. This is something which we want to utilize. The fact of the matter is we want to utilize blockchain in order to ensure that we are kind of manufacturing in association with our S&OP process. So effectively, we are able to ensure that the production levels, and in today's day and age with COVID, it has shown clearly that with China's production down to almost 50%, being the factory of the world, with the COVID situation, is significantly impacted most of the countries, including us, because we do buy products from that country, or SKD products. So from a Eureka Forbes perspective, I would like to say that we are looking at two portions. One is IoT and blockchain. Now, because Eureka Forbes provides water purifiers in a house, we would like to understand the point of presence of how the filtration is working in the house so that we are providing pure water purifiers. The second thing which we are looking at is how do we ensure that the equipment which goes inside a water purifier is not spurious in nature, because there are lots of I would say third-party companies which can do that. So we are trying to utilize blockchain with IoT in order to establish not only the physical locations of the goods, but also ensuring smart contracts to be utilized for warranty and maintenance. This is our thought process where we're going. The second thing, which as an example, which I would like to illustrate, is that we are trying to empower the fact that machine could be utilized as a service using blockchain. So that means effectively is pay per use rather than buying equipment. How can we utilize it for pay per use? And this is where we believe that blockchain is going to be heavily utilized. So two parts of it. One is manufacturing side itself, and the second one is how do we provide a service to our customers. So these are two areas where we are looking at extensively. And of course, there are lots of other parts which are there. How do we reduce our cost in the factory? How do we ensure the quality management? And we certainly believe that once we start utilizing blockchain as a service, we will be able to provide these services to our end customers, ensuring even from the manufacturing side that the inventory management is more or less centralized on a blockchain rather than the way we do it today, because then all the records are put inside the blockchain and basically is available when required in a very transparent manner. That's how we intend to utilize going forward.
All right, great. Yes, great. Thank you, Khushru. Anyone wants to add to that? Umakanth, Sanjay, or Dr. Rakesh?
Anybody? Otherwise, I can just add a bit on that. So, like, it's more of a transparency, as I mentioned, transparency and ensuring to help the end product, which is a good point. What was just shared at this point in time. But at the same time, it is more of helping to decentralize some of those opportunities and then giving the right level of visibility. To this day, there has been many efforts, and I know some of the companies are much ahead. So that's still an opportunity for us. I would share that way.
Okay, great. Thank you. So I don't think we can see questions from the audience over here. So what I will do is, I've been taking notes while we were discussing, and I'll try to summarize the discussion. So from what I see, blockchain, we started talking about it a few years back, or a couple of years back. We are still in the early adoption stage of blockchain, particularly with manufacturing industry. So whatever work is being done, it is still early in the stage. So these would be early adopters, so to say. But we do see a lot of opportunities here, from a business and operational side, from what we heard. So we heard about, Umakanth talked about, the holistical aspect, connecting the inside and the outside, maybe using blockchain for doing that better. He also talked about, kind of using blockchain to kind of to do the quality audits in addition to the physical aspect of it. So either eliminating those just because of the architecture of blockchain, or using the information in the blockchain to do some of those quality audits, other than the physical audits. So that should improve efficiency in auditing. We also heard, I think Sanjay talked about it, about the opportunities with using blockchain in quality assurance. He talked about, using blockchain to qualify products at the factory level. So qualify it right when they're produced. That's a good thought. Dr. Rakesh talked about using blockchain for the agility and faster processing of transactions. So multiple agencies are able to engage in that transaction at the same time, and hence that transaction should proceed much faster. For example, with customs, when there are multiple people involved and there is simultaneous updation, having the same document or same information available to everyone. And also Dr. Rakesh talked about the very real challenge of, how do we use blockchain to establish traceability when you have, 20, 30 liters of milk from 100 farmers going into the same batch to become a bigger batch, and how do we establish traceability, with that kind of a situation? So a very good use case challenge for the blockchain community to think about. And Khushru talked about some very good concepts, with point of use, time of use, kind of pushing the envelope of blockchain use cases to, kind of go into the paper use, they engage with the consumer, and use blockchain for warranty, for service, for paper use. And also I think Khushru talked about which is, I believe, this will be what will adoption of blockchain, because until recently companies have been playing with it. Everyone tries to do their own thing, but as companies, blockchain service providers get into the playing field, make it easier, scalable for blockchains to be used, the adoption will improve. So any closing thoughts from the panel? Umakanth, Sanjay, Dr. Rakesh, and Khushru?
Do your
Yeah,
business
so
case for the
Paresh, I want to add here in terms.
Go ahead, please. Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. So I think opportunity is ample of opportunity, but I think as a team, we need to also see about the challenges. So as per me, big challenges in terms of awareness and understanding. So suppose I use the blockchain, means naturally Bitcoin will come to my in my space, but blockchain is beyond the Bitcoin. That we need to understand. Just I'm giving the one reference of the Gartner survey about the blockchain. So around 43% people means organization they want to implement a blockchain, and around 34% they don't want to implement blockchain. I mean, in spite of having all the opportunity, I understand in terms of cost and it is there, but till means I think major challenge it is awareness and understanding about the blockchain. So
Okay.
that's my thought process about the challenge.
All right. Thanks, Sanjay. So Khushru, you had started saying something.
Yeah, my apologies, I interjected. But the fact of the matter is that from a real business angle, blockchain should be utilized, should be, I think, when the think process or the thought process is going on, identify the purpose, okay, on the ground, okay. And the way we are doing it is we are looking at first two parts of it: the factory side of it, the manufacturing side of it, and the customer experience side of it. And I think when we combine the two, that's when blockchain is making a lot of sense for us. So we're still in the thought process, but by combining the purpose behind it of the business case, that's where where the two things are coming together, and that purpose will basically lead towards the revolutionized use of blockchain technology. That's the way I'm looking at it. And I do believe that within a year, we will be utilizing this technology and understanding how this is actually, we believe that it is actually going to save us cost.
Great, great.
Paresh, I would agree to Khushru, what he was mentioning, but at the same time, one additional point, this is more of a question to myself and everybody, is that if this technology can give me the ability to deal with most of my past mistakes, or maybe missed deadlines when we are talking about the product deadlines, it has to be consequently going up from a supply chain efficiency side of it. That's where the major opportunity lies. So with that transparency, transparency between all the chain, that will make it more impactful. So more of a question, but possible, I believe.
Just
Okay, good.
yeah, just one more thought. The more I think about it, one thing keeps bugging me, that whether the will it create less of an equity at the marketplace between bigger players and marginalized players? Because as I had mentioned in my example, if the big food companies start sourcing only from the big suppliers, the smaller marginal farmers would get even more marginalized, because if McDonald's has to source potato for its chips and for its fries, and if it wants to establish traceability right up to the farm, it has to source only from big farms, and the small farms will get even more marginalized. So what will happen at the marketplace? Are we creating more of a or less of a level playing field? What would happen in future to the marketplace? That's something that's bugging me. I don't know the answer, but as
Good. So thank you, Dr. Rakesh. So like we saw, we got some answers, but now we are left with some questions. So it was a great discussion, and I think we are right on time. And let's hope we can all work together to take this technology further and further the use of it, and really use blockchain for solving our problems. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks all.
Thanks.